Bill Maher swims in the elite waters. He's run a show for multiple decades. He gets the biggest names in Hollywood and politics on his show. And when he's making the type of commentary that he's making here, I think, my opinion, and I think it's reflective of where people in his circles are feeling about what's going on with the writer's strike and the SAG-AFTRA strike.
I saw that video. I think I know what you're going to talk about.
You know, we talk a lot about labor here because, and you mentioned that earlier as well. That's like this part of the equation that often gets left out when we're talking about like race and class. And right. It's like those three things really kind of need to all be addressed. They're like sort of three legs of the same table. Like it needs to work.
We're going to play a 2-minute clip now so that people get an idea of what class war really looks like when somebody like Bill Maher, who it seems that a number of people on the left or even in the middle and so on have a favorable opinion when he makes certain takes. But when it gets down to the nitty gritty, he is a classist of the highest order, and he loves.
Oh, he's even worse than that. He is an actual pit bull of Democratic centrism.
Ooh, absolutely.
Yeah.
When he started saying that Bernie and Hillary were basically the same person,
like,
okay, well, that's a giveaway. So here we go, Bill Maher with Jim Gaffigan sharing his thoughts on exactly how terrible this writer's strike is becoming and how inconvenient. It's becoming.
The strike is a perfect example. Those guys would never go back. This strike could go on till the 24th century. They would stay out. I feel for my writers. I love my writers. I'm one of my writers. Yeah. But there's a big other side to it, and a lot of people are being hurt besides them. A lot of people who don't make as much money as them in this bipartisan world we have, where you're just in one camp or the other. There's no in between. You're either for the strike, like they're fucking Che Guevara out there. You know, like this is Cesar Chavez lettuce picking strike, or you're with Trump. You know, like there's no different. There's only two camps, and it's much more complicated than that.
It is, but I do feel like there is a lot of the points, a lot of the grievances I kind of agree with.
I do understand that they're getting screwed a bit by the streamers, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a change, and you either, it's like anything that is, I believe in free market, but I also believe in trust and then verify, right?
What does that mean?
Meaning, you don't trust, like the reason, Zaslav made $400 million, and I think they're looking for 80 million for, it's like they're gonna, you leave a kid in front of a bowl of marshmallows, they're gonna eat the marshmallows. It's not like some grand thing.
Well, I don't know. What are you saying? They're only asking for $80 million?
Well, I'm saying
they're asking for a lot of things.
They're asking for a lot of things.
Like kooky. Like what I find objectionable about the philosophy of the strike, it seems to be they have really morphed a long way from 2007 strike, where they kind of believe that you're owed a living as a writer, and you're not. This is show business. This is a make or miss league, and not everybody.
You don't think that that streamers should reveal numbers so that they can?
Oh, maybe
things?
Sure.
Okay, so they're not deserving of a living wage
or health care.
Well, but just that he said that, it's so insulting.
But it's revealing. It's very revealing.
He's like, I love my writers. They're not entitled to a living wage, but I love them.
Well, you know what's interesting? Obviously, Bill Maher is, a boomer. He's Ivy League educated. He went to Cornell. He's from New Jersey. You're from New Jersey also?
Oh, yes.
He is.
Okay, so you're familiar with contrary to the notion that, New York and New Jersey is some kind of liberal bastion, that's not the kind of Democrats that you have in New York and New Jersey at all, by any stretch of the imagination. So his worldview is very much shaped by his background and also he's old enough to remember watching the politics of the 60s. And he strikes me as one of those who was pretty much scared and didn't like it very much, the way the country was changing in a lot of ways, and tend to kind of side with authority. But the thing is, though, to be fair, when he started in television, he was much more left than he is now. Like something happened. He evolved. So maybe there's something that explains this as to why he evolved into being such a centrist. Because I remember when he had the other show, as a matter of fact, didn't he lose a TV show? Because he said something about how the United States kind of deserved 9/11 because of all foreign policy or something like that.
He made some sort of comment in that regard. Politically Incorrect?
Yeah, I watched Politically Incorrect, and I remember the show. And what happened was that it was shortly after 9/11, and he basically said, there's a lot of things you could say about the terrorists. One thing you can't say is that they're cowards. They were willing to die for their cause.
Right.
And for some reason, that was considered, oh my God, how could you say such a thing? Well, he's not wrong. And that's what you fire him for? Yeah. And then the next thing you know.
So this is a possible theory. Maybe the sting of getting burned from Politically Incorrect made him realize, I got to play ball with the establishment, and I'm going to play ball as much as possible. So that possibly could be why he really shifted to being, he wouldn't be the first. I'm not saying he was ever a leftist, but he wouldn't be the first person whose circumstances, whether being getting fired or otherwise, helped them play ball with, management or the bosses or the elites to keep their pockets greased, if you will. So that might explain it. But regardless of how he got here, he's got horrendous classist politics. He's clearly a class enemy. He is used to shore up the worst of Democratic centrism. And frankly, I wish that people on the left would call him out more for the class enemy that he is. Part of the problem we have is that too many people believe regular Democrats are leftists. They are not.
Right. Right. And I would say, especially in the case of Bill Maher, and looking back, and I have watched him forever, and I will always give him Religulous, shout out, that was a great film. And his stance on some of his routines and stuff where he would call out certain religious stuff was great to me as an atheist, and I always appreciated him for that. But looking back, he was never a leftist. He was always a libertarian. And his attitude was always, I can do whatever I want to do, and consenting adults can do whatever they want to do. And that is one of the reasons I actually do like him, in that a lot of those in certain regards, but he was never left. No. But now he's become extremely elitist.
I think that there's a couple of ways to look at it. Number one, I can still remember the first, when Bernie really picked up momentum in the summer of 2015, he was a guest around the same time that Ann Coulter went on the show, and everyone lost their ish, if you will, and were hysterically laughing at this notion that Donald Trump was going to be the next president. And she even said, well, if you nominate Bernie Sanders, that's going to be your best shot at stopping Trump. And even Barr was like, ooh, interesting. And so when he had Bernie come on, he made it very clear that I want to support your campaign. I want to see you get the nomination. I'd like to see you be the next president. I'm thinking, this is the Bill Maher that I always believed he was. And then shortly thereafter, ever so slightly, and then eventually very overtly, he basically came to the conclusion of, no, Hillary and Bernie are the same, so it really doesn't matter who. I do think that
maybe somebody got him in line.
Well, I think that's definitely part of it, especially when you consider who owns HBO, Time Warner. And then at the same time, you also have to factor in what I believe is Trump derangement syndrome. I do believe that Trump broke Bill Maher's brain in a lot of ways.
Oh, no. I'm going to be very honest with you. I think Bernie Sanders suffers from Trump derangement syndrome. And I'll tell you why.
He's towing the party line on that one, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the fear of Trump is what stopped Bernie from going after Hillary after Trump won, or going after the Democrats. I think the fear of Trump is what stopped. Listen, Bernie Sanders in 2020, after the Democrats manipulated the primary to have Jim Clyburn fix it so that Bernie was knocked out and basically put the nomination in Biden's hands. Bernie Sanders had 35% of the Democratic Party in his hands that he could have turned into a movement to literally push the left so hard against both Biden and Trump and really done what was needed. And I'll be very honest, a lot of people won't like me hearing this. I actually blame the failures of Bernie Sanders as to why the left is so weak right now, because he did not pick up the mantle to push a movement, as he said he would, to challenge the duopoly and their duopoly-based capitalist politics. And instead, out of fear of Trump, just capitulated, well, Biden is my friend and I can't blah, blah, blah. And the left is falling apart.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.